Let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, Rad is across the table, Rich is behind the mix. My name is Yanni Burmeister and we are Unity Gym, experts at turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by the Unify Movement System, the online program that balances strength, flexibility and fitness in an efficient 60-minute workout so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus our epic gym and home UMS programs, extensive exercise library, private coaching group and weekly coaching calls. As a valued listener, use the link in the description to get your first month free. Before we get started, warm welcome if you're watching on the Unity Gym YouTube channel. Remember, hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe if you like what you see. I'm excited to announce that joining us today, we have Phil White from ADPT Physio.
Phil, if you didn't know, has been working in the fitness industry since 2012, first as a remedial massage therapist, and then went on to study exercise and sports science and a doctor of physiotherapy, postgraduate degree. Now he runs ADPT Physio, where they specialize in delivering the athlete rehab experience to everyone. Phil's been a massage therapist to the GWS Giants AFL team, Olympians, Paralympians, and a number of other professional athletes. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thanks. And yeah, I think this kind of massage experience paired with the sports science and physio is now the perfect combination of things to talk about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, which is a question that came from Andy Lawson in the UMS Movement Mastermind group. Andy asked, is there an optimum time to use massage guns, pre or post-workout? I currently use a Theragun as part of my warm-up, but also try to use post-workout, though sometimes not till several hours later. Does it matter? So let's tackle the massage, Theragun and foam rolling debate head on. And yeah, we're going to sort of uncover whether we think they're useful, whether we like them, whether we use them ourselves, and when is the best time and how to use them. So we may as well... straight up, before we, because I know Phil could absolutely digest this and devour it, but first we'll share Rad and my experience. I am a big proponent of massage guns and foam rollers and massage balls. I usually use them either on my days off or before my workout as part of a sort of warm-up or prep. What I find that they do really, really well is they raise your sort of your discomfort tolerance level, your pain threshold, which allows me to train a little bit harder. It's sort of like doing as much for the brain as it is for the tissues that I'm massaging. I'm also a big fan of the idea, and this was actually told to me by a friend of mine, Dr. Ross Walker, who's a cardiologist. He said that the foam rolling, when you do your whole body, it's actually very good for your cardiovascular system as well. It sort of massages the veins and the blood capillaries in your arteries and things like that. So there's a sort of a hidden benefit in there as well for the cardiovascular system, and the idea of just getting the metabolic byproducts of hard, intense exercise sort of moved throughout your system. I like the idea of that as well.
Yeah,
Phil's shaking his head in the corner over here.
We'll talk about that one later on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to first start saying that what I'm about to say is I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physiotherapist. So none of what I'm about to say has any research behind it except for done on myself. But I can tell you right now, for me, before a workout, if I am training hard and I am experiencing DOMS, and the kind of DOMS that I experience sometimes, it makes me feel like my range of motion is literally half of what it is when I try to go into a workout. Like I can barely squat down all the way without going, oh, like this. And if I use the Theragun...
do you really do that? You go...
And if I use the Theragun on the really tight parts of my body, it dramatically improves my comfort and ability to go into that workout, and it basically reduces the amount of time needed for me to warm up and get to a point where I can access my full range of motion, actively. So that is my personal experience with it. And
so is that massage gun or foam roller or
massage? Both.
Yeah,
both.
Yeah. So component.
Absolutely, yeah. Before a workout, I wouldn't. The only reason I really wouldn't do it after a workout is I'm just so cooked, and I don't feel like straight after a workout. I don't feel the level of DOMS and discomfort that you're going to feel the next day or the day after, just before a workout. Like that's when you feel the worst for me.
We should have got the different ones that we've got. I might even duck out and grab them. It's probably worth it. But
That's
anyway,
we can link it in the description.
Yeah, while we do that, let's
hear Phil destroy what we both just said.
So another thing I didn't say is it just feels damn good.
Yeah.
And foam roller? Did you talk about foam rollers there?
Yep, for the same reason. In all honesty, the foam roller, it would be my go-to because it's just easier.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the Theragun does more than the foam roller in a way that, like, if you want to get into your quadricep or your chest or your bicep or whatever, like the Theragun really gets in there. But the foam roller, you can put yourself into that beautiful thoracic extension, which for me is like daily medicine. And it's just easier to have there and just jump on the foam roller and you can chat. Like, you can't really chat while you're doing the Theragun. It's kind of like kind of experience.
Well, I guess there's. Do you want to show off your toys first, or should I get into it?
You start talking while I set these up here. And
So there's
Brad and I'll have a massage gun fight.
There's
across the table, which my kids literally love doing. So that's another third hidden benefit to owning these things.
Yeah, you can tell you guys are brothers. So when talking about this, there's so many different directions to sort of go, but I think kind of looking more broadly at sort of manual therapy is probably a good place to start. And so when thinking about this, there's going to be like in the massage specific environment or therapy specific environment, and then there's kind of things that you can do for yourself. And it's amazing how much that kind of the thinking around this and understanding has changed over time. And as Rad set out in the intro, like my background is as a massage therapist, and I got in there thinking, hey, this is going to be cool. I'm going to be like helping change people's body by like changing their structure, changing their tissues. And from my own experience of, being an athlete who was getting lots of hands-on treatment, I really felt like the difference from when I had massages, had hands-on physio treatments and used foam rollers. So I was really excited to be like, great, I can't wait to like Rubik's Cube people back into like their perfect sort of form. And it just doesn't work like that, which is kind of disappointing, but it's also really cool. So I'll go into a bit about what's actually happening. If you think about the level of sort of force that you're putting into your body with a foam roller, with a Theragun, or with or someone doing a massage to you, like if that level of force structurally changed your body in a significant way, humans would have died out a long time ago. Because if you think about what you're doing in your everyday sort of life, even just like your body weight sitting in chairs, like the compression sort of forces on like going through your sit bones and going through your back with just like the passive structures supporting your body. Like if our body was that susceptible to structural change, we would be these like floppy bent over things that would not be able to function, not be able to withstand sport. Like just imagine if you were trying to like play sport, but those same forces that you like used a bit of a foam roller on, you could deform you like that. You'd have just you'd be a plasticine person. You wouldn't be a like strong, robust human that can do amazing feats of strength. Like your acrobatics career, can you imagine if like the force that a massage therapist did with their elbow after leaning half their body weight into it, like the forces that are going through your body in acrobatics, jumping off like landing full body weight at speed again and again, like those levels of force are so much higher than anything that a like person would be doing to you. And like that's your body's adapting to it, getting stronger to it, not suddenly like letting go and turning into some structurally changed thing. So there's that structural deformity concept is really important to understand. They've done studies in human ITB bands. So, sorry, that's ITB bands, like ATM machine. So ITB, so iliotibial band, where they've actually taken it out of cadavers and applied a force to it. So basically like seeing how much weight that this ITB could withstand before it got any sort of structural change. And it was about the weight of a small car. So like it's these structures are bloody strong. Like you're not going to change them just from doing like a bit of foam rolling for a couple of minutes with however much body weight you can get on there. So that's just a really important thing to understand. But that doesn't mean that it's not doing anything. So there's been quite a lot of research into looking at I guess flexibility. Let's go back another step. So what is happening is think about all of the stuff we talked about before in other episodes about contemporary pain science and how pain works. So if a lot of the time people use these sort of therapies as a way of getting past aches and pains. And, it's funny when you're talking to like people who are a bit tough and they're like, oh, this I'm just a bit tight. And like, do you mean that hurts or do you mean you're tight? People don't like to say things like that. But yeah, basically like tension and discomfort and pain. And we've talked a lot about the fact that like pain does not equal damage. Pain is your body's like calculation of perceived threat. So if this is all new to you, go back and listen to the pain science discussions that we've had, because that will go into a lot more detail. But the idea here is that, sometimes that does, like the threat does correlate to damage, but other times it definitely does not. So in a kind of acute, like we're going to just like park all sort of specific acute injuries like a muscle tear, like a ligament sprain, like a fracture. We're just not thinking about that here. We're assuming it's a healthy person with sort of an achy bit or a sore tight muscle, for example. And so or even people have kind of like chronic injuries that we're trying to like increase exercise tolerance. So with what I've talked about before with pain science, so basically you have lots of different nerves throughout your whole body that are sending information to your brain via your spinal cord, where the signal can be modulated. And by that I mean turned up or turned down by things that are happening at a spinal cord level. And then it goes up the superhighway of your spinal cord into your brain, and then your thoughts, mood, belief, and context is all like that information is filtered in that area, and then you have an experience of pain. So what foam rolling and massage guns can do is basically add a whole lot more signal to the area that's sore. So if you have like a tight bit in your quad and you're like, sore bit in your quad, and you start foam rolling it, then you've kind of got the signal coming from your quad is now, it's like putting a whole lot of static on a TV. You've suddenly got all this extra stimulus that is from the pressure of the foam roller. And so you're basically sending a whole lot of signal through that area, and it's almost like adding static to the very specific signals that are going out. And then so what then happens at the brain is basically if you've got a positive context to that new stimulus, so if you're like, hey, I'm doing something therapeutic for myself, then suddenly that means that your context, your thoughts, mood, belief of what's happening, of that information from your periphery is now in a context where it's like, I'm doing something that's good for me. Like pressure and movement is good. All of these sensations are a positive thing that's helping me. Then that actually then can have a descending inhibitory control, basically positive effect. So what I mean by descending inhibitory control is like your brain has like a drugstore up there. It can send like so inside your body you have different things that can turn up or turn down your level of like signaling and discomfort. And so you can actually have like a pain relieving thing from just having like this positive association with stimulus. And that's what a lot of exercise for chronic pain rehab is all about, is it's like getting your body to have a positive association with the signal that that is already there. So I know this is a whole lot of information, but just to quickly on that, before I do some clarifications, they've done some really good studies about that idea of like the fact that even having like a positive association or a healing association does actually change your pain perception. So they had these studies with, you can even work with sticking your hand in really cold water. You know how like cold water is like, it's bloody uncomfortable in your hand, like, oh, aches. It can be quite intense. But they've done a study where it was looking at basically like sticking your hand in cold water. And then one group was told that when they did an electric shock to the lower limb, that if you had the hand in cold water, that would make it feel better. And you had another group that were told that would make it feel worse. And the people who had this, like, were told that they're putting your hand in cold water would make the shock feel better, actually like had a decrease in experience of pain, just because they were told like, hey, you're doing something therapeutic.
Yeah.
And so you've now got this association of like, this is a positive stimulus. So it's
So we've just basically by doing this show, we're ruining everyone's experience with foam rolling.
No. I really don't want that, because like, although like people get kind of really defensive about or frustrated with the fact that so much of what's happening with pain is in the brain rather than structurally in the body. But I think it's just such a empowering message, because there's just so many positive things that you can do yourself that can have these same effects. So instead of having to go and pay, $120 to go see a massage therapist every week, because the only way you can get through your workout is by having someone doing like this hands-on stuff to you. You can get, if you have that understanding that I can have the same effect with a foam roller, with a massage gun, that it like does have this impact. Then
it gives you back the power.
It gives you the power, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And
and you don't like a lot of like physio and like hands-on modalities have always built on being really like specific things that like unlock your specific body by doing really specific treatments with these hands-on treatments. But like there's just not research to like, there's certain situations where the specificity can be beneficial, but for the most part, like you can do so much yourself with these very easily accessible tools.
Yeah. And so just to be like, to sort of clarify and really simplify what Phil's saying is that using these tools, using these exercises of whether it's a massage gun, which we'll talk about in a sec, or a foam roller, or a massage ball, or a spiky massage ball, or whatever, it tends to down-regulate the sensation of discomfort or pain and associate it with something that is actually really beneficial, which in turn amplifies the positive experience. It again down-regulates. This is what I said at the start. I find that it will allow me to train harder because it sort of desensitizes me to the feeling of discomfort or that an exercise can put you in, that an exercise session can put you in, and that you got to understand that there are so many great benefits to training and lifting heavy weights and pushing yourself hard in a cardio workout, whatever. And one of the main ones is the idea or the notion of callousing the mind. You sort of, the more you push yourself, the more you can handle. And that's one of the hidden benefits to exercise that people don't really understand. And that carries over to everything in life. It carries over to how you deal with emotional stress, psychological stress, all sorts of different stuff, Yeah,
and with this idea of pain being your body's like perception of body's perceived threat, like you can't just tell yourself like consciously that, hey, like this is good, this is fine for me. Like they've done lots of studies into like whether just psychological interventions and education is enough to improve people's pain, and it's not. So it's like you have to have this understanding, but then basically through your body, like teach your mind that things are okay. And this is where these massage guns and where progressive exercise is so useful. And so, if you do want to look more into this, the term, which I remember we talked about this on the podcast like last year, the diffuse noxious inhibitory control was the fancy term for this. So if you do want to like go and dive deeper into it, or we could do a future episode or something, like a bit into more detail, but I think that's probably heaps. Does that make sense to you, Rad?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was quite disheartened when you first explained to me the way that these things work, because I really wanted to believe that there was something more going on when I was getting massaged and when I was using these things. But we've had these talks many, many times now over the years, and it makes sense to me. Yeah. And it for me, it actually reinforces as to why I do these things, because at the end of the day, sometimes these little 1%ers or 2%ers can really, make a difference for you. Yeah. And at times it certainly does allow me to keep doing what I'm doing.
And there was some research just looking into, again, like if it's not talking about pain, but like rather range of motion, because you guys are talking about how you find it much easier to move once you've done the foam rolling, for example. And there was looking into studies looking into foam rolling, and basically you could get an increased range of motion while still maintaining strength. Whereas we've talked about a lot before, if you're increasing range of motion by stretching really hard before a strength workout, that can actually decrease your strength. So it's a great way of building that range of motion. But it's probably happening from a neurological action rather than a structural action.
And it's interesting because we used to, our 18-minute stretching routine is it's literally our old warm-up from a few years ago, and it takes 18 minutes. If usually in the workout we allowed 20 minutes for it because there's a bit of fudge factor teaching people. But when we removed it, one of the big things that people complained about was that we had removed foam rolling, because 10 minutes of it is foam rolling the entire body, 5 to 10 minutes. And the thing is that, and people complain, what we did was we wanted to make our workouts more efficient, and a 20-minute warm-up just wasn't efficient. And so we've really dialed in our warm-up now to 10 minutes to be very specific to what the body needs to be prepared for a workout, because that's what the warm-up is. It's the warm-up, not the workout, for a UMS workout. But we had a lot of kickback from members saying, I really wish you hadn't have taken the foam rolling out of the warm-up. And the reason was because it kind of hacks the system and it makes them feel really good. People that are coming in feeling a little bit displaced or discombobulated or a little bit sore after that foam rolling session that we covered from head to toe, basically, they feel really good. And they were associating that good feeling to the whole workout, which is important, but we sort of went, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to get someone a result, or do we want to just make them feel good? And we had to make a really hard decision that the result was more important to the majority of people than just coming and feeling good, and so it's sort of interesting anyway.
Yeah, and just quickly on the other factors that people sometimes think about being impacted by foam rolling. So you're talking about the circulation and the flushing of metabolic byproducts of exercise. They've looked into circulation, and basically it's not going to be like doing light exercise will also increase your circulation. Like what you're specifically talking about with that Ross Walker would have been mentioning is like with your calves, for example, because you've got the way that the veins work, you've got this series of one-way valves that with your arteries, your blood's actively pumped from your heart, but whereas your venous system, so your veins, the blood returns to your body by a series of kind of muscle pumps. And so when you're walking, it's basically it's like squishing the blood up, and it doesn't go backwards because of the one-way valves. And that's why with airplanes, they were talking about like moving your calves a lot so you don't get deep vein thrombosis. So like there's potential there that if you're like doing the foam rolling, you can be kind of like doing kind of a physical muscle pump there. So, and your capillary system throughout your whole body, like there is sort of some there, but like it wouldn't be a make or break whether or not your blood's going to flow. Like your blood's going to flow if you move.
And there is a lot of evidence to prove that the best way to get your blood flowing is just a moderate intensity cardio.
Exactly. And so, but then with metabolic byproducts, there was research into this, and there was no difference in metabolic byproducts. So creatine kinase and other factors that kind of show like muscle damage and stuff. But again, the great thing is that the body is really good at doing that just by itself. By itself. So again,
cardio, a little bit of cardio is a really great way to do that.
Yeah. So those are the kind of other factors that people often think are involved, but just kind of probably aren't as important as you think. So again, use before exercise makes more sense to me than spending ages doing it afterwards, because it's more about getting your body prepared to do something and feeling good about doing something, rather than having this idea that it's going to enhance your recovery in some way, because it doesn't seem to be likely that it's going to enhance your recovery unless you're using it as like a nice active recovery thing that you like stops you from doing something too intense and cutting back your thing.
Falls in alignment with the way that Aaron trains as well. Whenever we train with Aaron, he always starts every workout with a bit of foam rolling, and he uses it as well as the way that he describes it is he uses it as a self check-in to really just see how his body feels, and maybe like, oh, that's a little bit tight going on there, and it'll
tight.
It'll give him feedback as to what he may need to pay attention to or avoid in a workout based on the feedback that he gets from the foam.
So can I now play with my toys?
No, I just want to talk about one more thing. Okay. Sorry. Right. So with your toys, with the Theragun or the Massage gun that you have there, basically there is a potential other mechanism of action that is still in sort of like early stages of understanding, which is the vibration aspect of it. Because with foam rolling, obviously you've just got like that direct pressure, but with massage guns, it is the vibrational aspect, and there's kind of quite a lot of interest in looking at it seems like there could be some potential benefit in I always got to make sure I get the right thing, so high velocity, low amplitude, so high speed but low intensity. So there's potential that there could be some like metabolic things going on with that type of vibrational stimulus, and there's you go into like midday TV and there's the people standing on vibration boards where it's like a similar sort of concept.
They were huge a couple of years ago. I actually met a guy who had wasted a truckload of money buying them and just couldn't get rid of them after a while.
Yeah, so there's been some interest in that idea of high velocity, low amplitude vibration and its effect on the metabolic system. But again, like it's not going to be the make or break whether or not you reach your health and fitness goals, and it's still in very early stages of understanding. So just for those people who are watching and they've heard about that, like there might be something there, but I wouldn't like be that wouldn't be the reason why I'd like get one. But that also would suggest that like you're probably better off taking that sort of vibrational approach to things rather than the jackhammer approach of high amplitude and high velocity, or high amplitude and low velocity. So that's again speed and pressure. So try and go for like lower pressure and higher speed to get potentially some of that vibrational benefit. But yeah, like
which brings me to my tools. So they're absolutely not created equal, and the one that we tend to use is the Theragun. This is a Theragun Pro, which is way more powerful than the Musage. But if you're just going for what you were just talking about, then the Musage is probably really good. It is, and I'll give you a demonstration on the table here. This one goes to what they call 20, and this one.
Oh my god. Yeah, right.
Harder ball, but I don't think that was a very good demonstration, really. But this one is a lot less powerful than this one.
Yeah.
So you just be aware of that. But this one I think is about $150 or $200 Australian, and this one's about $900. So yeah, very, very different motors, very, very different tools. A lot of fun, and if you don't end up using it much, your kids certainly will. They'll just run around the house hitting each other with them. So there you go. There you have it. And we'll put some links in the description where you can pick these things up if you want, and we'll make some affiliate. Gets to get paid.
Yeah. And just before I do finish up, I do want to just say that like I talked about how this is like this is talking about manual therapies. So we were talking about like kind of equating massage and foam rolling as being the same, but there are other effects within a massage that can have like more positive effect than just a foam roller. So it's not exactly the same just doing a foam rolling session versus doing a massage, because one of the really great things about massage is that like time where you just like able to completely relax, mentally switch off, have, you know, a therapeutic alliance with the person who's caring about you, and like human touch is a really powerful thing. And that ability to properly relax, whereas when you're foam rolling, you're never really relaxed. Yeah. So I just want to say for all those people who do like massages out there, and as a previous massage therapist myself, like there definitely are benefits to seeing a person for a really good quality remedial massage, but a lot of the kind of effects you can do by yourself.
So anyone who wants to know Phil's address to send him abusive messages and letters, if you're a massage therapist, he lives at.
I'm going to get taken down by Big Theragun.
Remember that Simpsons episode where Homer finds that that deranged bin, if you fell over it, it fixed all your spine problems, and all the chiropractors started attacking him. Oh, gold. Anyway, that's all we got time for today, guys. Great discussion. As always, thank you very much, Phil. If you want to find Phil offline or on the line, he's available at ADPT Physio on Instagram. And if you want to book an online or an in-person consult, you can get him at adpt.physio, and he'd love to catch up with you.
Thanks, everyone. Great chat as always, and we'll catch you in our next episode of the Sound of Movement podcast.